Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here, and you are in the Smoke-In Studios here at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. Hello Terry, how you doing? Ish, big hello to Ish. Danny over at 505 Cigar Review. If you ever are bored on a Tuesday night, want to watch a great cigar review show live, definitely jump on Instagram. The guest that we're having on tonight, we met this way. So jump on Instagram. Danny and I do a raw cigar review is the name of the show, and it's every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard. So definitely jump on that. Bruce, how you doing, Bruce? Dan, always tuning in here. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get into some show maintenance stuff that we're going to talk about. One of the things I want to bring up with everybody, and I can't do it enough until the event actually happens, is on July 21st of this year, we are going to be having our second annual Rocky Mountain Cigar Night. This will be held at Dunafin Castle. It was held there last year. If you're remotely interested in coming but are on the fence, definitely Google Dunafin Castle, and you will see it is absolutely fantastic. It was built back into the 20s. It's been completely redone, brought back to its original life as much as it can be, and it is absolutely fantastic. This year's benefit will be for Shadow Warriors Project. And again, it's Friday, July 21st. And Shadow Warriors Project is a charity, a military-based charity that raises money for vets that can't pay their bills, their medical bills, I should say, as well as they also raise money to provide dogs for various things like PTSD dogs, but like weight-bearing, load-bearing dogs, go get things style dogs that help people that can't get up and move around as easy. It is an absolutely fantastic charity, and Mark Osgeist is also part of the Benghazi team, if you remember, or have ever seen the movie 13 Hours. Mark Osgeist was actually depicted in that movie 13 Hours. So it is going to be a fantastic event as he will be speaking there as well. You're going to get appetizers, open bar, complimentary cigars come with the ticket, a challenge coin that will double as a Glencairn topper with a custom-made Glencairn glass, as well as live music and live and silent auction. Last year, we were able to raise $8,000 for Ronald McDonald House Charities. This year, I am hoping to double that. We're working with a lot of great manufacturers that will be donating for the auctions. So if you're in the area, go on to Eventbrite or scan your screen if you can on the QR code, and please come to the event. Looking forward to seeing you there. And if you do show up, please stop over and say hi. I'd like to get a picture with you, meet you, say thank you for coming. And as always, this show would not be possible without the fantastic sponsors that support and back this show. We have BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, Kristoff Cigars, K by Karen Berger Cigars. We've got Sagrado Cigars, as well as New Air Humidors. Check my description below for a 15% off promo code. We've got Micallef Cigars, Big Sky Cigars, and Cornell and Diehl pipe tobacco. So thank you very much to everybody that supports this show by watching it. It allows me to know that everyone's enjoying it, and it gives me a lot of joy to continue on and keep going. All right, enough blabbering by me. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest. As nobody just showed up to the show to watch me completely just talk to myself here. So we have Alan from Family by Loyalty. How you doing tonight, Alan?
Hey, what's up, brother, man? I'm doing blessed, man. I'm very blessed, you know, in this life and in this business and everything I do, man. Just feeling blessed. God appreciate all the good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, We're going to ask you what you're smoking here in a minute, but go ahead and take over the show for a second. Tell us who you are, how long you've been in business, and where to find your cigars.
Sure, man. So first of all, thank you so much, Ryan, for having us on this call this evening. Really appreciate you, brother. So to get started, we've been in the cigar business now for a little over 2 years. We've been we actually started 5 years ago with our pipes. And then we started making our own cigar brand about 2 years ago. We collectively, I've been smoking for over 23 years. He's been smoking for over 15 years. And we have a love and passion for cigars. And when we decided to start our own line of cigars, it was kind of like a dream of mine of 22 years ago when I first started smoking cigars, was to start a line. And I talked to my brother about it when we started the pipe business. You know, he was excited about it. And when we started to go do it, it's been an amazing, beautiful learning adventure so far. You know, running any business is not simple, but of all the things that you learn from all the speed bumps, from all the mistakes that you make, and makes you a better person and makes you appreciate the process even more.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like you and I were talking about before the show, I started a bacon company, and a lot of people would be like, what the heck? Not baking, by the way, bacon, BACON. So if anyone's interested, please reach out, DM me after the show. And
well, I was going to tell you, I didn't tell you earlier, but even though I don't eat meat, everyone else in my family eats meat, and they love bacon. So yeah, we're going to talk about that after the show.
Fantastic.
Oh, we're talking about it now.
Fantastic. No, we'll talk about it after the show. Right now, we're going to talk about you. I just kind of wanted to slide that in there. But anyways, so you started the company about 2 years ago, and you've been able to make several cigars. So this part of the show, we're going to try to do this little intro here. This part of the show brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. What are you smoking tonight, Alan?
So I'm smoking one from our line, the Hottie, Connecticut, and a Robusto Vitola. Now, it's funny because you're smoking the same cigar, Hottie, but in the pipe size, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that you're getting a lot of pepper from the very beginning.
Love it.
And
it's very, very nice.
That's the Connecticut, right? And then the binder is Criollo 98, and the filler is Corojo Negro Ligero. And the story behind that cigar is, I'll dive right into it, is that we were 3 days in and blending in the Dominican Republic, 2 nights, and on the third morning. Are you still there? Ryan?
Hello?
Yep, you there?
Yeah, hello. I can hear you.
Yep. All right, cool. You froze.
I don't know what's going on. That's weird. Okay, but anyways.
Yeah, so after 2 whole days of blending with the master blender Papo at the Blackbird factory, it wasn't the third morning when we actually created the blends for Hottie and Skull. Right? It took us 3 days just to get to that point. And it was amazing how we got to it, because when we got to Hottie, I said to the master blender, I want a Connecticut that I can enjoy, a Connecticut that I could stand behind, a Connecticut that's full in flavor. And that was when, boom, that morning he rolled it. We smoked it together, and I was like, this is it. This is it. The way it started, to when I got the second third, to when I picked up the pepper, to the final third, where it started full in flavor at a medium body, but by the time it finished, that sucker felt like it was full, but it ended at a medium, right? And it was like we did it. We set out to what we create. And that was just the first cigar, Hottie, because we created Frecky and Jerry almost a year before that. Right?
Okay.
And we went to DR to blend Hottie, Skull, and Fenrir. So when I was so happy with the Hottie, and he was like, well, what's your idea for the next cigar? I said, well, it's a Connecticut it would be nice if I could do the same exact blend with the transitions, but with the Maduro wrapper probably. And he says, I have an idea. He went down, created the exact same blend with the Cuba Brazil wrapper. And it was like blown away. And that followed through with the Nordic mythology theme that we were creating for our first 5 lines, right? So Skull was literally born out of Hati.
So real quick, since you just kind of said the Norse theme, how did you guys settle on that theme and why?
So first, to talk about the theme, we had to talk about the brand. So the brand name Family by Loyalty, even though the company we started off as is Cia Cigars, we wanted the brand to represent our cigar brand, our cigar company, to represent who we are, how we live our lives, right? And that's why we said Family by Loyalty. It just hit us one day, you know? We kept talking about family and loyalty, no, Family by Loyalty. And when we came up with the brand, I had a meeting with Jonas from Blackbird, my business partner Ernesto, my brother, and his head designer. And he's like, "What animal do you best, based on your brand name, what animal for these 5 lines you created that you love?" I said, "Well, I love the wolf. Ever since I was a child, love wolves, dogs." And he's like, "Well, how much you know about Nordic mythology?" And I was like, "A little, not much. I'll read about it." And then I was reading about the wolves of Odin, Freki and Jerry, reading the wolves of Fenrir, Hati and Skull, and the wolf of Loki, Fenrir. And it was like, okay, I want the first 5 lines of cigars, the wolves of the wolves of the gods, to be based off the Nordic mythology for the first 5 lines of cigars. So, which is how we came up with the concept with Freki and Jerry being the same exact blend, complete different wrappers. We wanted to show the world that we could create cigars that are not full in strength, but full in flavor, and have transitions to keep you entertained, right? That when they finish, that it's not the way they started. That was our main goal with building the 5 lines. And when we started building cigars, we were focused on just 2 lines, Freki and Jerry. But I had a massive concern in my heart. And that concern was like, 2 lines. I don't want to be judged based on just 2 cigars, right? If we're going to do this, we need to do this really right.
Absolutely.
And so we said, well, we got to go back to DR. We got to make 3 more, right? And that's how we came up with Hati, Skull, and Fenrir. But again, the names of the cigars were already picked out. It was coming up with the exact blend to fit within the profile of the mythology. Right, for instance, Hati, we use the gray band because he's the devourer of the moon, right? And then Skull being the yellow band because devourer of the sun. And even though Skull's a female wolf and Hati's a male wolf, since they're twins, we decided, hey, it has to be the same blend.
Sure. So we have John. I want to address this here really quick. John, the X is bi, stands for bi. So like 4x4, 4x4, family X loyalty, family by loyalty. So to answer your question, that's what that is.
And to piggyback off that question, we're changing the X to be actual word bi.
Really?
Because another big name in the industry doesn't allow anybody else to have an X.
I know, man. I was honestly, the first time that we came on and talked with you, in the back of my head, and we don't have to get into, if it's actually been a problem already or not, or you guys are doing it before it's an issue. But I was really concerned about that.
Yeah, it's not a massive issue right now. We didn't get necessarily cease and desist, but they are fighting our brand, right? So we decided we're not going to fight, King Kong. We're going to go ahead and change the X to be bi, right? And no longer have an issue with that.
Sometimes it's just easiest to do that. So, but
I'll be honest. At first, I was quite ticked off when that happened because it happened the first day of PCA last year. But actually, I find it as a badge of honor because it's like, well, obviously we're making some kind of noise if the big man himself was coming after it.
That is very, yeah. It's kind of like you don't know whether to be honored they know who you are, or be upset that they're doing what they're doing. But John asks another question here. So John, the cigars have been on the market for about 2 years now. Where can John actually find your cigars? Is there an online site? Is there shops? Can you find that?
So online, you could go to Atlantic Cigars. They have all of our lines and all the Vitolas. Okay. You can also go to the Cigar Loft, Concord, North Carolina. They have a website. They have an Instagram called Cigar Loft NC. They sell them online, and also Luxury Cigar Club. And then as far as retailers, if you go to our website, Family by Loyalty Cigars or familybyloyalty.com, you can check out the retailers list. We have retailers in Arizona, Texas, Vegas, here in Florida, Tampa, West Palm Beach, Miami. We have them in New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Indiana, Tennessee, soon Alabama.
Does your website have a store locator?
Yes.
Perfect. So everybody, if you are in any of those states that are mentioned, go to their website, familybyloyalty.com, and click on the store locator, and you will be able to find anything. Now, you've got another soft threat here from Ish that says he owns the B and BAMF and the Y and why not, or because why not. So just be careful now.
No, listen.
Ish is a scary guy.
Ish is my brother, man. Love that guy.
Yeah, Ish is absolutely fantastic.
You gotta try his Budo Cameroon. Oh man, that cigar is smooth. You can't even tell you're smoking a full body cigar with that right there. It's really good.
I'll tell you what, you gotta try his new MRE, Breakfast of Champions. Uses my bacon grease in it.
I can't then. I'm a pescatarian. My wife can smoke.
Oh, you don't eat the cigar. And it's not like it's like dipped in it, like it's like coffee and donuts.
I'll definitely try it out. But actually, it's funny. I thought about this. Like, can I smoke that? I mean, I eat gator before. I mean, that's if you Google it, it's considered pescatarian. I mean, why not?
Well, yeah, but you're not eating pork. You're just smoking the fat that's rendered off of it. So it's totally cool. I mean, you'll be good. You'll be good. So you started the company. How was in the beginning? How were you received? Did you get picked up right away? Was it like a very rough go in the beginning, or
when you say beginning, you're talking about just trying to get the cigars into stores?
You now have your first order of cigars that is delivered to you. What did you do? Did you go give samples? Did you try to take orders right away?
Oh yeah. So the first thing we did was, we sent a couple of samples to our friends, right? Let them try it out, right? And we started selling on our website, tried promoting it on Instagram. We did a couple of cigar weeks that year to help out a bit, right? And but again, when you first get in cigar business, you've never been in cigar business. There's a lot of things you don't know until you encounter. For instance, Jonas has been a great mentor to me, right? But a lot of things he'll tell me you need to figure this out on your own, right? And when you figure it out, you're like, oh shit. Like prime example is that when you start your own cigar brand, if you want to be involved from beginning to end, that's a lot, right? Because it's not just getting a cigar blend. It depends on the type of company you're running too. Like if you just want the master blend of a certain factory to create a blend for you so you can sell it, that's one way to go about it. That wasn't the route that my brother and I took. My brother and I took the route that no, we need to go with the master blender. We need to blend with him. And we need to find cigars that hit our palate. And we're not going to try to go back and forth with samples, back and forth, back and forth. No, we're going to go there for an entire week and we're going to blend them, because we can't stand behind cigars that we don't approve of during the whole blending process. Cigars that we're going to fall in love with. So that was number one. Number two is understanding that, okay, you create a great blend, or a great blend in your eyes, right? In your palate. Now you got to worry about the label design, the box design, box count, right? You got to factor in all that price, the import taxes, the delays at the label factory, the delays at the box factory, and the possible delays at the cigar factory as well, right? Going through all that pain, that's one thing. Learning the ins and outs of that is another. Then getting cigars to the shops is hard, because you got some retailers that see that you're selling online and they disapprove of that. And I said, well, how are you going to carry my cigars if nobody knows about them? How do I market them, right? It's a catch-22 right there. You have the old school philosophy way of thinking and the new school, right? So I sent out, let me tell you, when we first had the 5-packs and the boxes, I sent out at least 60 emails and DMs, right? Find the websites, cigar shops that carry boutiques. That was my first goal. I was going through, finding a bunch of shops that were carrying boutiques. My second goal was to email them, DM them, and then call them. I would tell you guys right now, of the 60 that we've done, less than 30 responded.
Wow.
Right? Of the 30 that responded, I think only 17 were interested in sampling the cigars. Of the 17 that sampled cigars, only 6 bought now they didn't buy it when I first released them at TPE. They bought it at PCA.
Wow.
Yeah. So, one of the things that when you start your own cigar brand is one important fact. If you don't have reps or brokers that you're willing to work with, that will promote your brand and support your brand the way it should be, it's going to take you a lot longer to get your brand out there. Because it's one thing to get your cigars in the shop. I mean, that's a hurdle in itself, right? But once you get your cigars in the shop, if they don't move, there's no reorders.
For sure.
Most shops out there don't promote any brands whatsoever.
Correct.
Then you got a few that are loyal brand supporters. Mm-hmm. And then you got the least few, which is the ones that care about elevating the palates of their customers based on all the cigars they sell.
The true tobacconist style lounge.
Yes.
Yep. So,
a lot of people are starting their own cigar brands, but I'm gonna tell you guys right now, it's fun if you're in a cigar business because you're a strict businessman and you can do it and you have the funding capital to make it happen. You can do it. And you can probably do it quickly. But if you're trying to start up with less than $100,000, there's a lot to learn. It is very hard to get your cigars everywhere unless you have the right people by your side. And that's one thing we're doing right now. Daniel from 5 Cigar Review. It's my boy since day one. He's by my side. Rafael Angel Montes, a.k.a. Miyagi, been by my side since day one. Right? And now building new friends that are willing to represent our brand in different states now. So we finally got a rep that's going to handle us in Alabama. Another one's going to handle us in Pittsburgh, PA area. Right? Another one's going to handle us in the Phoenix area of Arizona. So now we're finding reps that fall in line with what we believe, how we feel morally, how we feel about the brand, how we treat each other, and big promoters of the brand. Because when you get into a lounge and you're a small brand, you basically need the regulars to smoke your cigars.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And like you had mentioned, it's easy, and I say easy because it's easier to get into it's easier to get into a cigar humidor at a lounge. It's harder to keep that spot. And let's be very, very honest. You're never going to make it as a business by making one-time sales. Even if you're sold to every lounge in the country one time, like if you don't get that reorder, if you don't have somebody there promoting, you don't have somebody there showing the message of the brand itself. And I've seen it happen. Colorado is a very hard territory. Colorado, in many parts of Colorado, the lounges are like die-hard, specific brand style lounges, and it's because those reps like go golfing with the members of that lounge, you know, and everybody smokes friends cigars. And when they feel like they're your friend, when they feel like they're your family, they show you the loyalty by doing. See what I did there?
Exactly. And it's funny. I mean, everything you're saying is straight facts, right? So, for instance, as I live in Miami, my wife and I are working our backyard. My wife and I are fully focused on being one of the very few boutiques to conquer our back door. But it's hard in Miami. It's harder. I would say it's harder in Miami than in most states, in most cities. I would say in most cities, right?
Well, yeah, because cigars are a dime a dozen.
Well, it's not just that though. It's because all the major players most of them live here.
Correct.
Most of them are out of here. So what does that mean? They're constantly in the lounges. Here,
that makes sense.
A brand owner is not necessarily a celebrity or someone that ever drop what they're doing to go to cigar event. Because here, most lounges are used to seeing brand owners every day. It's not the same in states up north.
No,
right?
Absolutely. And you know, John asks a question right here. To your point, since we're on the topic here. You are a newer brand. Not very many people visually know who you are.
Yep,
so are you
100%.
currently out knocking on doors on the road? Kind of walk us through that process and how you do that.
I am right now in Miami. Right now, Miami, Florida.
That's true, Gabby. Good cigars are not a dime.
Hey, Gabby, my brother, what's up? That's my other brother right there, Gabby. I'm knocking the doors hard here in Miami, right? But as a brand owner, right, one of the things that I've heard from not one retail shop, numerous retail shops across the United States, and specifically here in Miami, I've heard this. Boutique brands usually have great cigars. The problem is, if nobody knows about your brand, especially here in Miami, if the people here don't know you, don't vibe with you, your cigars are not going to move.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that's a lot of states.
Well, it's a lot of states, but specifically Miami, because you go to another state, you go to do one event, you get to meet a bunch of the regulars, right? They'll all show up for you. In Miami, you do an event. If you're not already friends with the regulars, they're not going to show up for you.
That makes sense.
You understand what I'm trying to say now?
Mm-hmm. So when you're going into a shop in Miami, what is the difference between going into a shop in Miami and, say, walking into a shop in, pick a state that's not cigar-heavy state, like not Pennsylvania, not Texas, not Arizona?
Let's pick Indiana, for instance. I got a count at the final third, and it was...
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate you, brother. When I got to final third, it was actually through a referral from Jonas to the owner there, and from another brand owner to there. And my cigars are moving there, but it's because the owner of the lounge is so meticulous about his lounge that he himself prints out labels in front of every box, the blends and the strength profile, and he helps his customers move. But for instance, there's another shop in Tennessee where I've gotten one order and never again I've gotten another order. But then again, I have no representation in Tennessee. So, but another brand owner in another retailer in North Carolina that has our brand, Cigar Loft, he's been a huge supporter and friend to the brand. So the hard thing about having a boutique brand is if you don't have reps in those individual states and cities, and you're not good friends or have a great relationship with the manager or owner of that lounge, more than likely as a one-time sale until your brand becomes recognized.
So why not, like John just kind of says here, why not get out and go to Tennessee and go to these other states and spend a weekend there, throw an event, get people to know you, versus relying on other. And if there's an expense motive or if there's an expense factor, be honest and say that, because that's a very real thing now.
Yeah,
a plane ticket could be $600. Hotel could be, another $500 for a weekend. So like that is a very valid reason why you're focusing mainly in your home state.
So twofold. I'm mainly focused on my home state, Miami, because again, Miami, every boutique brand that I've spoke with, right, has said the same exact thing. Miami is not worth our time. Miami's just, they'll call you once you make a name everywhere else.
Correct.
So for me, it was just like, no, fuck that. I live here. I want to conquer Miami. I want to be one of the very few boutiques to conquer Miami. As far as why I'm not putting the work in other states, yes, I am going to put in the work in other states. Am I putting out a hard enough effort as I am in Miami? Personally, no, but this is the reason why I'm getting reps now, right? And as far as financially, yes, it's very expensive to travel state to state, city to city, depending on the state size. For instance, we want to focus heavy on Texas, specifically Houston, Dallas, right? And Austin. We got to make time for it. But we also have the PCA coming up in July. We have an event coming up in North Carolina, June 11th at Cigar Loft, right? And it's also balancing act between my day job, even though I'm a programmer, a DevOps engineer, all right, as my day job. I can do that from anywhere. But the key is making sure that when I hit a state, I plan it out correctly. And some states is extremely frowned upon if you don't create appointments with the lounges before going there to speak about the brand. And that makes it very difficult because then you try to make an appointment, they never pick up the phone, they pick up the phone, they have to call you back, you call them back, you pester them and nothing, right? So, guys, yes, I am going to be putting the work with my wife, going from state to state, city to city. But in the meantime, as of right now, the reps, I love that. But as of right now, yes, I'm going to be part of the BCA section. I'll be right in the middle, right next to Gabby. So, yeah, we are going to be traveling. It is expensive. And it's also planning. And it's also, how do I put it to you? Picking the right states with the right cities that are boutique heavy. Right? That's what we're focused on. The only city that we're not focused on as our boutique heavy is Miami.
I mean, and that absolutely makes sense. It is, as somebody that's been in sales over 20 years at this point, that has sold everything from door-to-door insurance to cars to now I'm an account manager for one of the largest technology companies in the world. I'll tell you, man, just who gives a shit what the owner thinks about your appointment? Just show up, shove it in his face, cut it while you're talking to him, and start toasting it, and just tell him to put his cigar down and put yours in his hand. I mean, command that shit, own that shit.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, Ryan. It's funny you say that, right? Because some lounges I walk in, my wife says to me, "You walk in like a fucking peacock." And she's like, and that turns off some people. So sometimes I walk in the lounge, I'm like, okay, let me not walk in here like I'm a New Yorican. Let me walk in here and be a little more calm and relaxed.
Well, I can tell you the call. So I always tell everybody, and when I used to train people for door to door, either whether it was marketing or insurance, you literally have about 15 seconds to gauge if they're going to continue to talk to you. So I always like to be a little bit, if the shop's really quiet, so be it, kind of gauge it differently. But I always tried to do whatever I could in that 15 seconds to snap their attention. And I'm telling you, something in me says if you walked in, started undoing the cigar, hey, is the owner around? Owner comes up, clip the cigar, start toasting and go, I got something for you. Give it to him. I mean, you just might get enough owners that go, wow, you're ballsy enough to just give me your cigar. I don't even know who you are. And then let's talk. I don't know. For me, that would get my attention. But that's just me.
Well, the thing is, like, that's the beautiful thing about human beings in general. We're all very unique, right? I'll give you a prime example. I walked to a lounge in Arizona, and the owner was there. Older gentleman, ex-military. He's a veteran, right? And I walk in, and he's like, "Hey, how can I help you, sir?" And it was like 10:30 in the morning. And I said, "Oh, I love boutique brands." He goes, "Okay, cool." And I said, "But I'm also a brand owner." As soon as I said I was a brand owner, that smile turned into a frown and almost turned into like he was about to kick my ass out. Right? I'm not exaggerating to you whatsoever. And I walk in the humidor with him. His joy went from like ha to like right to like more like get the fuck out of my store, but he was still being customer service. And I bought a cigar from him, one of the boutique brands. And I sat down with him, gave him my sample 5-pack. I had my brochure in it. He takes a brochure out. He's like, wow, you have actually information about your brand. Most boutique brand owners don't even give me that. I said, well, he goes, well, that's a plus for you. I was like, okay, a little aggressive. But you know what? I said, okay. I kept talking about the brand. And then I just stopped talking about the brand, just started talking to him about his store, his life. And he started smoking. He didn't even smoke one of my cigars yet. And we just started talking. And next thing you know, he's giving me dirt on other brands. He's walking through the humidor. We're cracking jokes. We're laughing. He tells me, come by later on that night after I'm done with all the rest of the shops. I did my tour through all of Phoenix, right? South, east, west, north. And came back around 9 o'clock that night. His dog was there, full house. His wife was there. And they welcomed me with open arms. And both says to me, we're going to taste your cigars. And if we like it, we'll bring them in at PCA. And true enough, he came with his wife and 2 daughters at PCA, sat on my desk, and ordered the cigars. Right? But now, that's not a normal meeting. Some meetings I walk in, and the owner can be super polite, super humble, and it goes amazing. And then sometimes I walk in, I don't have time right now. Can we create a meeting? Or they will sit down with me and smoke my cigars and say they love it. And I'll call them a week later and crickets. Again, one of the biggest things about this business is the relationships you create. And not everybody is going to vibe with you. Not everybody's going to vibe with your brand.
That's very true. That's very true. So do you ever kind of go in and secret shop, meaning like, hey, I'm here go on vacation for a week or so, and you're in that area, there's like 3 different lounges. You tell your wife, hey, I'm just going to go to the lounge and kind of just scope it out. And then as you're in there, you start to go, okay, I think this would be a good lounge for us to go. I've been here several times. Start to kind of make buddy with the owner. You ever kind of secret shopped a lounge like that before you pitched it?
Well, not let's say buddy to the owner, but what I've done, and I still do to this day, I do it here in Miami. I'll go to a shop with just my hat on, right? Nothing else. And especially I've never been there before. I'll I'll walk in, see if they greet me when I walk in the humidor, see if someone follows me in the humidor, see if someone tries to help me out, see if they carry boutiques or they don't. More than likely they don't. And see what the vibe is of the shop before I even introduce myself as a brand owner. So I don't necessarily call it a secret, but it's more like, and I've got the shops where I walk in and in 2 minutes I walk right out. Just because I know my cigar when I move there.
Okay. So let's just expand on that, because that is a very, very, I think, very valuable, almost more valuable than where you think your cigars would sell is where you think your cigars wouldn't sell. So how did you learn to have that gut feeling, and what about a lounge just is an instant killer for you?
So again, been smoking for a long time. So before I was a brand owner, I've been a cigar smoker forever, right? So I've been to plenty of lounges, and you get to learn the vibe of every lounge, right? You get to learn that each lounge has its vibe, and also the cigars they have. When you walk into a lounge and all you see is Ataldis, right? Davidoff, Arturo Fuente, Perdomo, and you see nothing of the past 6, 7, 8 years as far as brands there, that's usually a clear indication right there that they're not going to entertain you. They'll smoke your cigars, okay, and that's about it. Now, when I walk into a lounge that has a few boutiques and I see their placements always in the back hidden, I also say, well, more than likely my cigars are not going to move here either. Even if they will buy them once, they're probably not going to move here either. It's when I visit a lounge and I see their proper placements of the cigars in their humidor, where concerns of boutiques versus old school brands versus, the style of cigar. Those are the ones that I start saying, oh, maybe my cigars will move here. Crawling the walls and see.
No. So, but that is very valuable, because you brought up another really good point that I think a lot of young brands have a way of maybe overdoing, which is oversampling. So because all these samples cost you money, and when you leave a cigar behind, you expect an ROI, return on that investment. And when you leave a cigar at a lounge, you expect, or at least hope, a 50-50 shot, a genuine 50-50 shot of getting in there, correct?
Correct. And
so being able to recognize, hey, I don't think this is for me, is a very cost-saving ability, especially in the very beginning.
Well, I also had to learn that the hard way, because, listen, since I'm a DevOps engineer, obviously logic, mathematics plays a huge aspect in how I sell and how I move cigars, right? But at the same time, I had to learn some simple facts. First and foremost, a lot of people like to smoke free cigars. Second, shops are bombarded every day with boutique brands. You're just another brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's imperative that as a small brand owner, sometimes you have to learn on your own the hard way, like I did. But it is about, and it's the occasion to smoke to get back to humidor. That's what. Yes, exactly. But it was this past year and a half of cold calling, traveling. For instance, when I got the Cigar Loft, North Carolina, what did we do? We went for a week. And that week, my business partner and I hit up every shop in Charlotte, Concord, right, and the surrounding areas, right? We did that the entire week. When we went to Arizona, because we have a shop in Prescott called Park Plaza Liquor and Deli. We also have a Luxury Cigar Club. We said, you know what? I'm going to fly into Phoenix. You don't have to drive 2.5 hours north. I'm going to go ahead and take a few days before going to Prescott, get there early, and hit as many shops as possible, right? And of the shops that I visited in Arizona, I would say one I actually bought, and it was 3 others that were interested. The rest I knew wasn't gonna work out. But the rest that wasn't gonna work out, I didn't leave a sample. I walked in and walked out.
Yeah. Yeah, because that sample costs you money. And in fact, I was told this by a lounge owner one time when I asked him, because you walk into certain lounges and you're like, why are they giving preferential treatment here? Like, where's this eye level? So I asked an owner one time, I said, what is the most expensive spot in your humidor? He goes, my humidor, his response was very interesting. He said something along the lines of, my humidor is equal cost throughout. It's the manufacturer that sets the cost of that spot. The most expensive spot in a humidor is the one at home. Meaning all I do is middleman between the manufacturer that makes the cigar and the end home humidor. If somebody has 1,000 cigar humidor, their space is less expensive. They may be more daring, more risky to fill that humidor with something new. When I have a 20 cigar humidor at home, that space is more valuable. Maybe I only buy 10, 15. So it's for the manufacturer to actually stand out, stick out, fight for that home humidor space, and I'll provide the avenue to get in there. So what are you doing right now to get into the home humidors?
Well, that's the thing. So by getting to home humidor, I need to get them to taste the cigar first. So I'll give you a prime example. On certain new accounts, I offer, hey, if you buy 5 boxes, I'm gonna give you a bundle of the Habano for free. Right? And that way you can do a 3+1 deal when the supplies last. Right? And I only do those with the shops that I know that my cigars will move there. And why do I say I know my cigars will move there? 1, because they have other boutiques. 2, because they have loyal presence in that lounge. 3, by looking at the regulars that are smoking the cigars there, what they're smoking, right? So the most important thing after I get the account is getting the regulars to smoke the cigar at least once. One of my cigars, once. Right? And now that all depends on does that lounge have a manager or owner that likes to first keep track of the cigars his people smoke. 2, then able to recommend important. And 2, to be able to recommend one of my cigars based on the palate of his regulars. Right? I'll give you a prime example. Tres Isla here in Hialeah. They have a guy there, Nick, that works there, manager. And let me tell you right now, none of his regulars, I try working the humidor, will listen to me. They will only listen to him. But let me tell you something. They only bought 4 boxes. But within a week and a half, 3 of the 4 boxes was completely sold out. Then they bought another 5.
That's great.
In 2 weeks, 3 of the 5 were sold out. And now they have no more buy 2 get 1 free, buy 3 get 1 free. Now the cigars move on their own. Now, do they have all of our lines? Right now, they do have all our lines in Grand Toro. But which ones move the most? Is on the palette of the smokers they have there, which is the Habano moves a lot, the San Andres moves a lot, and the Cuba Brazil moves a lot. Now the Sumatra is starting to move. Right? But again, there's somebody there working there that knows each and every individual that goes there on a day-to-day basis, day and night. And those people at that particular lounge only respect that person. There's been other lounges where I could work the humidor. For instance, when I worked at Casa Humo, the first cigar lounge we got here in Miami, I sold them 6 boxes. In the first 3 weeks, they only moved 2 cigars. So what did I do? I went there 2 to 3 days a week with my wife for 2-3 hours at a time. I worked the humidor. Each time, moved my cigars, got the regulars to know who I was. And then fast forward, 3 months later, they're selling a box of my cigars practically every 2 weeks.
So if you were to be able to offer some advice to a lounge, whether the lounge is boutique or not, what would be some of your advice as a young brand trying to get their name across there? What would be something that you would ask that certain lounges, no names, but lounges start doing for younger brands?
1, I would say it's not just for younger brands. I'm gonna say for any brand. Number one, have somebody to work the humidor, to be there for your customers, to care about your customers, and that helps their customers elevate their palates. Right? I mean, that's number one, in my opinion. And I get it. It's not easy to hire somebody to do that.
That and a lot of manufacturers steal those people if they're good from the lounge owners too.
Trust, I understand. Number two, organize your humidor in such a way that's easy for your regulars, easy for the newcomer, and easy for yourself to manage. I've been in lounges where they'll have a Padron 1926 anniversary next to Perdomo, right? Then next to a Caldwell, then a Plasencia Amafuerte, like, and then let's say a boutique line like mine, and then another premium. Like you'll see humidors where boutiques, old school premium, everyday old school cigars, all together, making it more difficult for their customers to decide. Right? If you organize.
Yeah, I was just say, so to your point just there, if I could kind of ask a follow-up to that, do you prefer an alphabetical humidor or a sectioned off boutique and then legacy brand humidor?
So here's what if I had to run my own lounge, which I will one day. First and foremost, it makes no sense whatsoever to put the brands in the front that sell themselves because they've been around for such a long time, have such a strong following. It makes no point putting them in the front. You want to put the brands in the front that are not moving, the newer brands, to get the people's attention. That's number one. And that doesn't matter if you're boutique or not. Because if you're Drew Estate or you're Arturo Fuente or you're Davidoff, does it really matter in your front? Everybody knows who you are. And they already had your cigars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And they're going to keep buying your cigars.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like why grocery stores put milk in frozen at the very back of the store.
Exactly. It's a necessity. And it's something that everybody knows and loves. So for every lounge, I would say your boutiques and the cigars that are not selling the most, they need to have the prime real estate because you want those to move. And if they don't move then you have to move into the value bin or have the vendor by the back. But if you don't put your least selling and new cigars in the front and prime real estate, how do you expect them to move?
That's very true. You also brought up value bin, and I've actually had this in a few lounges where I've kind of gone back and forth with a few people. They're like, oh, the value bin. Oh, those are trash. And I look in there and I'll see a lot of really, really great cigars. And I look at them and go, they just don't sell here. They're really good cigars.
Yeah, I've seen value bin where there's been amazing cigars in the value bin. Now, it comes down to simple fact. It's not because they don't sell there. Again, it's the placement. Exactly. How is somebody with this pack? He has a point. Because again, I'll give you a prime example. Las Vegas, there's this lounge called Helios. I went there with my partner, my wife, right there before TPE. And I met with one of the guys working there, Jesse. I was one of the most phenomenal individuals I've met so far as a lounge employee. I walked in. I let him know I'm a brand owner. I told him about the brand and everything. And I said to him, hey, I want to smoke a cigar. Because at Humidor was more than 60% boutique. Really boutique. And I was excited. So I said to him, here, I'm going to explain to you my palate. And you recommend me. And man, this gentleman, let me tell you. Just by telling him a few cigars I smoked besides my own line that he knew. And what I was looking for, he was able to guide me to the right boutique brands and blends for me to smoke. That's the type of individual you want at every lounge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to finish your point about the bargain bin, what you were going to say.
Okay, so the bargain bin. Here's the thing, guys. Like, the value bin, when you look at that, don't look at it with disgust. Look at it with the point that there's going to be some phenomenal cigars in there. The truth is that because those cigars are were not known by the regulars or were not promoted properly by the brand owners or doesn't have representation in that area, and nobody decided to give it a shot, it is why they went to the value bin.
Yes.
Right? And that's what I'm trying to say is that, yes, guys, I'm putting the work. I'm traveling state to state, city to city. But if I don't have proper representation in that area, it doesn't matter. Right? And again, representation comes in many forms. It comes from having a rep. It comes from having a broker. It comes from having your fans. It comes from the store owner, the tobacconist, right? So that's what will really determine if a boutique brand is going to make it past being a boutique brand in 5 years or not. It's not only the work that they can put in state to state, but it's about getting the right people behind you. And in the cigar industry, what better industry to get people behind you? Because there's a lot of people that hate on you. Listen, I sent a sample of my cigars to a lounge in upstate New York. I won't say the name, but I can tell you this much. The guy that works there loves cigars. The guy that owns it hates them. Right? And there you go. What does that teach you, though? In the cigar world, it's just like the wine world, the whiskey world, the bourbon world, the rum world. You got some people who love vodkas and will drink them all day, every day. Will not touch anything else. And you got some people who love peated whiskeys. Right? So what it comes down to is that I know for a fact there's going to be a portion of the people out there not going to like my cigars. Not because they're bad cigars. It's because that's not their palate. For instance, you walk into a lounge and one owner will tell you, is yours Nicaraguan? Because if it's not Nicaraguan, I don't want it here. Right? It's like, well, we have
it's as bad as the Cuban guys.
Listen. It's like, well, we have leaves that originate from Nicaragua that's within our tobacco. But where's it made at? I'm like, it's made in the Dominican Republic. Well, we don't want it then. It's like, wait, what? Again, in the cigar business, Ryan, it's a very human business. It doesn't mean it's ran by facts and logic. It's ran by human beings that do this business, most of them because they just love the cigars and decide to retire to do the cigar business. They're not necessarily doing it to become millionaires, guys. They're not necessarily doing it because they're passionate about cigars and they want to grow. They're doing it just because this is what they did and what they love, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of lounge owners are, not all, but a good chunk of lounge owners that I know were independently wealthy before they became lounge owners. And the lounge they were going to for 20 years, the owner was like, hey, I'm going to retire. This is going to turn into a laundromat unless one of you guys buy it. And then a few of the lounge members get together and buy the lounge. That I know several big lounges that have done that and still operate like that. Those are great lounges, but you're right. These guys aren't. It's just something they do. A lot of times the owners are not the most knowledgeable, especially when they're younger owners. And that's where having a good manager or a good tobacconist really comes in handy.
Yeah, I mean, case in point is the fact that a lot of these lounge owners, they use their retirement to start their business. And again, it wasn't a get-rich scheme. It was they want to retire in peace and something they love and enjoy. Right?
Absolutely.
And then you have other lounge owners that says, I love cigars, I'm passionate about cigars, but I want to make this thing huge. And those are the lounge owners that go above and beyond, usually trying to figure out where to bring your cigars in. There's a question you asked me before about when I vacation, do I stop at lounges? I didn't answer you on this one particular thing. But the last little vacation my wife and I had was in New Orleans. And what did we do? One day I decided to stop at the lounge across the street from the hotel. And I just hit it off with the store owner. And he bought our cigars. But again, that was a random thing. I hit it off with the store owner, though. Right? And he loved the cigars. And he's able to push the cigars. But again, that rarely happens.
No, correct. Because I go into lounges around here and I'll bring some cigars that maybe one of my buddies who owns the lounge has never had. Or real quick, show your pipe since you're using it. So he actually makes these wooden pipes.
My partner
That
does.
is, and instead of using a poke, you could just use that, and it kind of just slides right in, and keeps your hands nice and cool from getting burned to crap because you're trying to hold your cigar too close.
It also creates a better draw. So between the cigar and the wood, it creates a seal. So once it creates that seal, you draw, the flavor of the cigar is going to drastically increase, and the strength of the cigar is also going to increase because no airflow is coming through it, just pure tobacco smoke when you draw.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to try one of those. I've tried similar things, and I actually found myself liking stuff like that over a poker. I'm gonna have to try one of those one of these days. But I wanna kind of move on because you've mentioned somebody in this conversation several times, Jonas. And I know Jonas is a mentor of yours in various aspects, and kind of one of the ongoing themes of my show that I feel a younger generation, my generation and younger, our generation, has kind of gotten away from is having a mentor, having somebody, because we feel we know everything about everything and we are the end all and be all. But in reality, that's not the case. And I have found myself better off, both personally and business wise, having several people that I can rely on. So, what is your experience with Jonas as a mentor, and kind of what's your take on having a mentor?
I mean, look, I'm gonna say Jonas has been a huge mentor of mine. Besides Jonas, I've had James Sinistro give me a bunch of gems advice. I've had Alec Cuevas give me a bunch of advice, right? So I could tell you this much. All those people I've spoken with are all younger than me, right? But all of them are great people, good friends, especially Jonas. But having a mentor is imperative in any business that you do if you've never done it before. Because for instance, I love cigars. I enjoy the entire process of blending with the master blender. But if you don't have a mentor to guide you because there's plenty of label factories out there. I can go with any one of them. But then Jonas has told me the ins and outs of each and one of them. Right? Price differences. I would have learned that by myself. The box factories, plenty of box factories. He's already went through that. He said, Alan, listen, you go with this one. They have great quality, longer wait times. Go with this one, average to good quality, shorter wait times, right? And then his experience with both. But then the knowledge gems that he drops that, hey, Alan, remember, don't get upset when someone says your cigar sucks. Don't get pissed off when someone says your cigar is trash. Don't get into a fight with a lounge owner when you walk in. They decide to kick you out just because the way you look, just because they don't like the way you speak. And then I had James give me some advice. He said, Alan, don't do what I did. Walk in with your head proud. You're a brand owner, right? And a lot of people are going to try to shit on you just because you're a boutique brand owner. And they were both right. You walk into a lounge, and I'm going to say 6 out of 10 times, they look at you like, who the fuck are you? And now you don't come with arrogance. You don't come with the cockiness. But they still come with you with that.
Sure.
So even though I love the cigar world, the cigar community, the business side of the cigar game, it's not that easy. But once you've been in the game, I've only been there for 2.5 years, at least cigars-wise. But once you've been in the game, there's another facts that they gave me. After 6-7 years, you're going to have a lot of friends, a lot of connections, a lot of understanding. You could build as many brands as you want from scratch because you went through it all. And then when you do a new brand, because you have friends on the industry, you don't have a lot of people supporting you, buying. But when you're first starting a new brand with no history, you got a lot of doors shut off on you. And you have to push past it.
So as you're kind of going through and you're realizing that people are becoming mentors in your life, what is your opinion on, at some point in time a day, it's probably going to happen again? It's very important that like these relationships need to be organic, right? You can't have a mentor that is looking out for himself over you. And it's
100%.
very important that like there's no financial gain your mentor gets from you, because then they're not into it for yourself. So what is your belief on bringing somebody in at some point in time to be a mentee for you, and how have you having mentors would determine how you would move forward with a mentee?
Well, everything is based on relationships again, right? Having a mentor that you bond with, that you vibe with, that you relate to me is number one. Because number two, I would say number two is this. For all branders out there, we're all in competition. But there's only one thing we're in competition for, okay? And that one thing it's called shelf space.
Yes.
Okay? That's the only thing we're in competition for. But it doesn't mean because we're in competition we can't be friends. And I'm learning that so far in this world, I'm not friends, with any of the big names yet. Nobody. But I'm friends with a lot of the small names or mid-sized names.
Yeah.
Right? And they have been instrumental into some of my thought process when it comes to sales. Instrumental to my thought process when it comes to not losing my shit and wanting to knock somebody over. Because
no, absolutely.
Remember, we're humans, right? Every one of us has our own personality. Some of us are a complete asshole, and some people love a complete asshole.
Like
me
Ish.
personally, no, Ish is not an asshole, man. But with me, one thing you'll know about me is I'll never talk shit about any other brand. I would never talk down about nobody else, and I don't like to. Put it this way: the company I keep is because the people I vibe with. And those are positive, upbeat, moral individuals.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And by the way, Ish is one of my closest friends. I talk to him weekly. I love that guy. But no, and I think the cigar world, what I hear so much from other, especially young brands.
Wait, can I cut you off 1 second before you continue with that?
Go ahead.
Even Ish and I just met in person like a few weeks ago, and we bonded immediately. And
fantastic.
Even him, like, he was giving me golden nuggets.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So I just want to put that out there.
Now, Ish will give you the shirt off his back if he knows you're genuine and thinks you have a good heart and are in it for the best instead of the wrong reasons.
Ish, if you're still on this call, Ish, I'll see you this weekend. I'm coming to West Palm Beach.
There you go. Yeah, when we were at the Great Smoke in March, we actually stayed at his house. Him and his wife, Carrie, were kind enough to let my wife and our friends Jeff and Laura stay at his house. And it's awesome. He lives in a humidor. Literally, his whole house is a humidor. Has humidification system throughout the entire house, and I'm not.
Well, he's a handyman. His construction company. I mean, the guy's he's a genius with wood. You know what I mean?
So, so one of the things that I've noticed inside the cigar world, there's a lot of brands that help out each other.
Of course,
brands that 100%. you take Adventura when their fire happened. How many brands came to help them with tobacco and everything? You don't see that in very many other verticals of business. And in fact, if Pepsi went under or was hurting for high fructose corn syrup, I guarantee you Coca-Cola would be buying up all the high fructose corn syrup that they could, specifically to hurt them. But then you get brands like Microsoft that paid for Apple to stay alive and are fruitful back in the 90s, and that camaraderie pays off.
Ryan, that's the when I say that, you know, the relationship that you create, you vibe with. Because one of the things, for instance, that I didn't talk too much about, the master blender of Blackbird is like an uncle to me. Love that guy. Love that guy. Right? And a lot of the people that you meet in the cigar industry, especially like old school master blenders and people that have their own factory, they're extremely humble people with great hearts. You know what I mean? And people realize that. People see that. And that's what I'm saying
Absolutely.
to you. Like, a lot of people in the cigar industry, we are a close-knit family. Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, but it's hard getting in. And Jonas warned me. Jonas warned me, Alan, it's a pain to get in. And then you get in, and you got a lot of people that love you, and have a lot of people that hate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then the big boys are not going to talk to you at all until you start seeing you on every spot they're at, and then I'm like, okay, now we want to say hi and play nice with you.
Yeah, it's like the one guy at the office job that's like, I don't learn anybody's name unless they've been there for 6 months. You know, that's kind of how the big players are. But so moving on here, I want to kind of, without divulging any unnecessary information, I want to kind of get into a little bit of your blending process. So as a younger brand, when you went in and were like, no, we're going to go down, we're going to blend with the master blender, we're not just going to buy his recipe. What was that experience like? What was that learning process like? And how is it different today, 2 years in?
Well, because now I learned a lot more since then.
Of course,
you know,
absolutely.
that was number one. You know, when we first started the blends, it was basically just sitting down with Master Blender and talking about the experience you want from the cigar, and certain leaves that you think that you feel will fit within the cigar you're creating. And as the Master Blender, if he's a humble Master Blender, he's gonna say to you respectfully, he's gonna be like, listen, you're the chef, but I'm the master chef. What does that mean? You know, I'm going to let you know what certain ingredients just don't taste well together, right? So when we started blending our initial 5 cigars, it was a lot of hand-holding with the master blender, because like, hey, I see what you want to do here, but this just doesn't go well together. Let's figure out another leaf that'll actually help promote the flavors of the wrapper, right? And I recorded every conversation I had with the master blender. And for instance, when we go back the next couple of months, we're planning on staying there for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I'll be working every day with the master blender, not just in the blending process, but the entire process from the leaves, right? Because when you're blending a new cigar, there's so many different ways to reach the flavor profile you're looking for. For instance, you could roll a single leaf cigar, right? And then these are the leaves that you want to taste individually, then see how they taste together, right? Mm-hmm. And you're smoking 2, 3, 4, like a train, all simultaneously, mm-hmm. Right? You got the other way, which is you tell the master blender what you're looking for, and he'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna grab this leaf. You're walking with him. He keeps grabbing a few leaves. He goes to the table. He rolls a few cigars for me, my brother and partner, for himself, for Jonas. That was another route, right? But as I get more invested and the more I learn, that's what I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm still learning. Even like from Ish, is that I got to keep smoking, not just cigars that I blend, but
yes,
little fumaitos, what they call them, single leaf cigars, so that I could embed in my brain, into my memory, the flavor of every leaf and the regions they come from, so that when I'm actually creating new blends, I can start creating new blends based off of my memory, right? And that's one of the things that helps you become a master chef or a master blender, is the fact that you're not just smoking full cigars, you're smoking single leaf cigars to how do I say to you, to instill in your brain the memory of every flavor of every leaf, from every seed, for the different regions that you have at your factory.
Absolutely. And to show everybody really quick what Alan is talking about, this is I haven't smoked these yet, and Alan, if you're okay with it, I don't mind sharing another brand of where I got these
Of
from.
course, go ahead. Yeah, most definitely.
But these are if you ever get an opportunity to go to the Aganorsa Leaf Experience, this is essentially what Alan is talking about. These are single leaf fumas. This one is Viso Jalapa. All it is like a little tiny Philly blunt. This is Criollo, and this is Viso out of Estali. And so what Alan's talking about is you would take one, light it, light another one, and then you would essentially take all three like this and smoke it to get the different variations of flavor and complexities around that leaf, correct?
Correct. So first and foremost, like you would do that with each one individually first, right? Take mental notes or write down in your notepad the flavors that you get. Then you say, okay, well, I want to see how these two go together. And you do two. Then you know what? I like that. Let me try adding this one to the mix. Boom, right? And now that takes time, which is why it takes years for somebody to be called a master blender, because which I don't have that title, obviously. I want to work for that title, and to work hard for that title, it means having not only an encyclopedic knowledge of the leaves and the regions and the seeds. That's, important, but what's more important is that your knowledge and your flavor palette in your mouth of each of these individuals.
Yes, of course. You would also then do the binder and wrapper as well, Ish. You're absolutely correct. So what was it like, that first experience? Because I've never been to a factory, and I hope, next year Ish and I are talking about maybe doing a DR trip together for a week and just going down there and just immersing myself in the tobacco world and learning how to roll cigars. Now, I was really good at rolling in high school, but they weren't cigars, and I don't know if that transfers over to the cigar world, but we'll find out.
It doesn't much, but it helps.
I think somebody else maybe has some experience with high school rolling as well. But anywho,
recent. But yeah.
So when you went down for that first experience inside the actual factory, what was that like? Was that kind of like, oh my gosh, it's bigger or more involved than I expected, or were you kind of like, it wasn't what I expected?
Actually, I'm gonna tell you my God honest truth. Jonas's warehouse, his factory in DR, his first factory, not the new one, his first factory, it was humbling to see that he took a house and converted that house into a fucking factory. Okay? The first floor were the rollers. Okay? And the second floor was the storage area, and with people applying the bands and the cellophane and the boxes and the little office they had there. And I was gonna tell you, like, not to keep pushing Jonas's name out there, but like, that's somebody I highly respect, because he did it. He didn't give a fuck how he did it, but he did it. And now he has a huge warehouse. Yeah. And he now has a huge warehouse. Right? So my first feeling was when I got there was, wow, all these people there rolling, and you see Papo overseeing the rollers, right? And then you're walking through the house, you go to the second floor, you see the aging room, you see the, cigars without the bands on it yet, you see all the Blackbird boxes everywhere, right? And you see the bonds that Jonas created with the people that work for him, right? And it was an amazing feeling. It was an absolute amazing feeling. And then having Papo walk with me through the factory, explaining to me not only because you can read this is Criollo 98, then you got to say, okay, what year it's from. Then he's like, how long it's been sitting there. Here's one that he just got, and it smelled like ammonia, right? Because it needs to age. Going through that whole process, having somebody guide me there, that was an amazing, amazing, amazing trip for me, right? and the experience was absolutely amazing. The second time I went out there, Jonas took me on a ride to a couple of the factories, and that was also amazing because seeing a huge factory at work, seeing the different processes that these factories have, right? Everything's a work of art. Everything's handmade, and everybody's trying to perfect that work of art. You got some factories who will not use the latest and greatest machines because they refuse to go that route. And you got some factories that says, hey, I'm going to try it. If it works, it works.
No, absolutely. So tell us all what your blending style is. What do you typically start with and then kind of build upon, or is everything just kind of thrown together at the beginning until you kind of work with a flavor you like and then you perfect?
So every time we're blending a new cigar, so I'll give you a prime example for my next two lines without giving away too much. First things first is like, I'm a impatient smoker. So when I blend cigars, they have to be full in flavor from the moment you light them. I don't care if they're mild, medium, or full body, but they have to be full in flavor from the moment you light them because I'm an impatient smoker, right? So that's one guideline I follow, that from the moment you light the cigar, your palate is filled with flavor. Number two, because I'm an impatient smoker, I get bored easily. So key factor that for every line of cigars I make, the way it starts is not the way it finishes because I get bored easily. Right? And I want to be entertained. I want the cigar when I'm smoking it, especially for the very first time. I don't give a fuck who's around me talking. That when that smoke hits my palate and it tastes so good and I'm trying to figure out the notes, that you don't have to wait for my answer. You have to wait for that smoke to leave the way it was meant to leave my mouth, slowly and steadily, so that my entire palate is completely enveloped by the smoke. And I'm saying, wow, because I know what it takes to make a good cigar. So for me, my blending process is that I cannot be bored. I must be entertained, and the cigar has to develop at different thirds. Whether it develops up or down, that just depends on what I'm going for that line. But every cigar that I blend, I will promise you this much: the way it starts will never be the way it ends.
So you like the transition aspect of cigars?
1,000,000%.
So John asks, and I've asked this question to a lot of people at the very beginning, and it's very, very hotly contested question in the cigar geek world, right?
Okay.
And that is, how much of the flavor do you think actually comes from the wrapper itself?
Okay, I mean, look, guys, every part of the cigar contributes to the flavor. That's number one. It contributes to the body, to the strength, to the flavor. So let me just start off with that. Because you can have an amazing wrapper and a shitty fucking filler, and that cigar is not going to fucking do much, okay? It's to give you one flavor throughout the whole thing. When you blend properly your filler the way you want to correspond with the proper binder, that then goes with the wrapper to give you an amazing experience, right? That's what it takes to make a phenomenal cigar. Yes, the wrapper plays an important aspect. For instance, you smoked a Hati today. If you smoked a Skull, that's exactly the same blend, blended the same way, beginning to end. All it changes is the wrapper. But if I use a shitty filler and I use a shitty binder on both my blends with a different wrapper, they're still both gonna be shitty cigars. Because
yes.
Because the blend is absolutely important.
Absolutely.
But that being said, you smoke Frecky and Jerry, or you smoke Hockey and Skull. Both are twin wolves in Nordic mythology, which means they have the exact same blend of each other. You're going to tell me, wow, just a change of the wrapper.
And that's where smoking a lot of cigars is actually fun, because the more you smoke, it's like, I have friends that don't drink bourbon. I give them anything on the back wall here, and they're like, it burns. I taste nothing other than fire water. And then you give it to somebody that actually drinks bourbon on a regular and can hold it in their mouth, can appreciate it, their palates develop. And that's where the fun comes in, is just changing that wrapper is really for the geeky cigar guys to be like, I love this one. What does it feel like with this wrapper? It's like, oh, I love this car. I wonder what it would look like with this color. You know,
exactly.
It's kind of that mentality.
But it's important that, you know, that on this subject, that yes, the wrapper plays a huge part of the flavor profile, but without the meat and potatoes inside, your experience is going to be subpar, right?
Very true.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, when you smoke two cigars with the exact same blend, you say, wow, man, it's amazing how this wrapper. Yes, but the fucking blend was super important.
So John's actually looking, and I know what John's getting at here. I've had a lot of people on the show, and I've watched a lot of shows, and a lot of people say wrapper is 50%, 70%, 20%, you know, a third of the flavor. What part of the wrapper, and I know this really depends on the gauge of a cigar, so let's just stick with it at like a 50 or less. What part of that wrapper contributes percentage-wise to that flavor, in your opinion?
You know, look.
And if you can't answer it, that's totally fine.
Yeah, like, because
it's torn.
I'm gonna say it's torn because I learned this the hard way. I've smoked three different Sanabria cigars. One my own, two from two different factories, right? And similar blends. And then you smoke another cigar of theirs, the same exact blend, different wrapper, just like mine was. Yes, the wrapper, when you're smoking the exact same blend. Now listen to what I'm saying to you guys carefully. When you're smoking the exact same blend and you switch the wrapper, I would say, personally speaking, that's about 70%. Okay? The exact same blend. But again, listen carefully what I'm trying to say to you guys. Without having a proper blend within the binder and the filler, the proper recipe, the wrapper don't mean shit. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, you're 100% right. Bad metal is bad cigar, and you're absolutely correct. What has been the biggest learning curve of getting into the cigar world that maybe surprised you, that it would have been such a learning curve for you?
Delays.
Okay.
Lack of communication between the different factories you're working with, right? Look, he said 6 to 8%. Look at that from the wrapper. Simple math. Only one leaf against many. Yeah, like I said to you, like when you're smoking a cigar with the exact same blend, yes, you notice a massive difference in flavor with the wrapper change. But with all that blend together, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not an easy number. When you look at it naively, yes, the wrapper it seems like the proper choice. But when you look at all the ingredients and how it's blended together, that's what really determines.
No, and I agree with you, and I want to get back to that other question, but what I will say is the only size cigar I think the wrapper contributes extremely overwhelming massive flavor structure to it is a Lancero.
Oh, Lancero, yes. I knew you were going to say that. Lancero
is where the wrapper really, really, really shines because it's the smaller amount of filler and it gives you that more expression of that wrapper. But with that said, I want to get back to the question that I asked you, which was, what has been some of the biggest learning curves for you that you didn't necessarily expect when you got into the business, other than delays?
Delays is number one, right? Delays across the board. Number two, that a lot of people that's been in the cigar, not just the industry, but just cigars and becoming friends with brand owners, right? They say, oh, cigars are cheap, or retail owners like cigars are cheap, But when you got a 53-cent tax on every cigar that you have that's banded and boxed, that's expensive.
Yes.
Right? The bands cost money. Right? And in the cigar world, and just like most wholesale world, right? Volume is the king. You want a better price, but a discount? Volume. Right? So that's number two. Number three, and for all you boutique brand owners who say this, much love, respect to you guys. I don't give two shits if you shit out fucking diamonds of those cigars. If you don't have the proper marketing and proper representation, your brand is not going to grow. Doesn't matter if your cigars are the bee's knees. Right? What it comes down to is proper representation, proper marketing. And I think a lot of boutique brand owners, a good portion of them, become demoralized when that truth hits them hard.
Yeah, it's the story. You've chosen Norse. You have a story behind your brand. That is a big selling point. People like the stories behind brands.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I didn't tell you, but like, for instance, the Hati and Skull, the blend is called 911. It's called 911 for a reason. The master blender, I told him my story that my wife saved my life the day of 9/11 because I should have been on the second tower, the 68th floor, and dead with my other friends from there. But instead, that week I was supposed to take off, and my wife basically said to me, "You didn't take off. You got to pay the rent." And since you got to pay the rent, I'm gonna be late to work. And so I was late to work. I had to go to the second location, which is the Mercantile Exchange across the street on the 13th floor. So when I got to work, instead of going directly to the second tower, I walked underneath it, and a friend of mine says, "Alan, how'd you make it out alive?" And that's because the first plane hit. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I was like, "How'd you make it down? How'd you make it?" I said, "I was running late. I didn't get it to make it to the second tower." So I ran to Mercantile Exchange, which was across the street, got to the 13th floor, look out the window, and I see the second plane coming to hit. And I caught the last train out of Manhattan to Brooklyn to get home to my wife.
That is a remarkable story. We wouldn't have had a great brand if it happened any other way. That's for sure. That is, hopefully you bought a lottery ticket that day, or a scratch off or something. That is an incredible story.
I hit the lottery with my wife. Been married for 24 years. This year will be 24th year. And that was the lottery that I needed in my life. Because if it wasn't for that woman, I probably would have been in jail. I probably would have been somewhere in the hood. If it wasn't for that woman, I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Amazing. I had Anastasia Professorian from Sisters of the Leaf Global Movement, and she actually changed what I said. I used to say behind every good man is a great woman, but in reality, it's beside every great man, every good man is a great woman. Because your wife really runs a lot. And I want you to give John a little shout out here. John says that he's actually going to order some of your cigars, that he's truly wanting to try them after listening to your honesty and your passion.
Yeah.
So I know that Alan appreciates that, John. Thank you so much. And we've got a lot of great things on the horizon here from Family by Loyalty. But before I get into the lightning round questions to close the show, you know, one of the things that I've always, when I first heard of your brand, when we had you on Raw Cigar Review, I always thought that it would be so awesome to have like a mafia line, not like a mafia name, but like some because Family by Loyalty to me screams mafia-esque name, because lot of go ahead.
I would say something like, you know, first I'll leave that to my boy Ish, who really has mafioso, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, my other boy, Jeff Amendola, I'll leave the mafia stuff to those guys, you know, but I hear you what you're saying. If I would do something like that, it would probably be something, it would obviously be another line, right? But it'll probably be something related to my roots and living all over the place, you know, because part of my history is that I lived in and out of home shelters with my mama, you know, and all over New York City, all over New Jersey, all over PA, Puerto Rico, right? And when I think, when that's the reason why Family by Loyalty came with the wolves, but like if I had to think of like things outside of that, you know, gangs is one, you know, and a different type of mafia. But I'm not sure if I will ever do it in that way. Because when I think of Family by Loyalty and I think about growing up, you know, I'm thinking about the kids on the corner block, your best friends that you were raised with, right? The people that were loyal to you and you to them, you know? So if anything I do as far as other lines, as far as around anything outside of the Nordic mythology, it would be probably related to that relationship. You know what I mean?
No, that makes. I was just always wanting to ask you that, just because the name leads to it. Yes, Ish, you have the mafioso coming out. He's got a lot of territory inside the mafia universe to share space. But no, in all reality, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to throw some lightning round questions at you. Just some quick stuff, really quick answers. Favorite rapper? You could give me musician and cigar rapper, but at least give me cigar rapper.
Man, I can't tell you that, because again, the rapper to me is nothing without the blend. So like, I don't have a favorite rapper per se. Now, if
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What is a rapper you would like to work with but don't right now?
Oh, there's a few. Cameroon is one. Yamasa is another.
African Cameroon or Cameroon seed?
Cameroon seed.
Okay.
Even African Cameroon as well. But Yamasa is one of them I really, really wanted to play with. Right. Let me see what else. Corojo. Right. But again, when I think of these rappers, I just think of like how the blend's gonna help elevate the flavor that comes with the rap.
Correct.
Right. And that's what I think of. Like if you ask me a different question, say to me like, okay, Alan, what cigars that or rappers that you like, the brands? That's even hard, because if you'd asked me that question 6 years ago, I would have easily told you Sandres. Easily. Right? But when you start blending your own cigars and you're going through the process of blending, you start to realize that, yeah, you like cigars around this particular wrapper, but you really don't know a cigar until you chase that wrapper in infinite number of blends to see how it actually really surprises you. So for instance, case in point, our Habano blend. Our Habano blend is not a one-dimensional Habano, which is most Habanos out there. And that's why the blend is so imperative. So you could ask me, like, would I smoke Connecticut? 3 years ago, hell no. But now, a damn well-blended Connecticut, fuck yeah. Right?
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. That don't necessarily fall in love with a particular wrapper. Fall in love with the blending skills of that particular line of cigar, because that's what really influences how that cigar is going to taste. Now, granted, my wife so far has not found one Connecticut she likes, not even my own. She hates my Connecticut. She hates it with a passion. Okay? So I have a goal for her. I'm not sure if Daniel told me this or who told me this, but I'm going to have her blend my next Connecticut. Because if she loves it, I'm going to get the other people that love it, because she hates my Connecticut. Let me tell you, hates it. And every other Connecticut I gave her, she hates.
What is your favorite Vitola?
Oh, easily the Robusto.
So you're a 50, 52 ring gauge.
Yeah, I don't smoke anything on a normal day. I don't smoke anything larger than a 54.
Are we going to see a Lancero out of Family by Loyalty?
It's possible.
Ooh.
So
okay.
Right now, I am waiting for my blends to come in of my original 5 lines in a Lancero format and a box press format. Okay? Because right now, the only box press format I have is a Fenrir. And right now, depending on how these samples come out, is will be determined if by next year TPE or PCA will we have a Lancero or a box press in the original 5 lines.
Ooh, I know Danny's gonna be absolutely happy about that. He loves.
Well, Danny's be one of the first people to try them out as soon as I get them. So.
Well, I'm telling you right now, I'm the Lancero guy amongst the two of us.
All right, then I'll send it your way as well. I got you there. No worries.
I'm the guy that actually buys Lanceros instead of just tells people to make them.
So I'll definitely send some your way, because like I'm basically getting quite a bit made for me, not just for me to taste and my partner to taste, but people that are loyal to the brand to taste as well, to get feedback. Because the biggest thing is that, and you've experienced it, and any cigar smoker's been smoking for years now, or even for a year, but smoking every day, will know one real fact, that cigar in a different Vitola may not taste exactly the same. It may taste better, it may taste worse. It may be too tight. It may not have the same airflow, right? So we are very cautious as to how many Vitolas we do of a certain line. And it's not the number of Vitolas. It really doesn't matter to us. What actually matters to us is how they taste. If they don't taste phenomenal, we're not going to bring that Vitola out in that blend.
Absolutely. And you know what? We made Ish upset by saying Vitola.
I'm sorry. Size. Sorry.
So,
sorry, Ish. Hey, Ish. No. Thank you for correcting, bro. Thank you, buddy.
But so what is your favorite cut?
I guess call me traditional from this point. I tried the punch. I tried the V cut. And I always go back to a straight cut. And don't ask me why. It's just something that I prefer for my palate. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. For myself, if I'm going Lancero, I have a tendency to go V cut. If
Thank
I'm
you, John.
smoking Robusto or Toro, I have a tendency to go straight cut. I'm not a fan of the punch myself, but I understand why people like them. It's convenient. What is your favorite pairing with a cigar? And part 2 to that, how do you pick your pairing?
I'm a simple man. I'm, when I say simple, it's like for me, it's a coffee with some cream. I prefer that with my cigar almost any time of day. Beyond that, if I'm especially tasting cigars, it's water the first time.
Okay.
When I'm smoking a cigar for the first time, water goes perfectly for me. If I have the cigar multiple times, I probably, depending how I feel at night, I may have a glass of rum. I like a sweeter drink with my cigars. So one thing you would notice that when I drink any type of liquid, I will probably always lean to a sweeter drink. Whether like if it's a wine, it'll probably be a port or it'll be a mead. If it's any type of rum, essentially, but usually more aged rum, right? If it's tequila, it's probably an añejo or reposado, right? If it's a whiskey, probably a whiskey that's been aged in a bourbon barrel or aged in a rum barrel, right? Got some sweetness to it. If it's a beer, more than likely it's going to be a Belgium triple ale, a darker ale. It's sweet as well. So normally, anytime you see me with a cigar, if it's not water or coffee, it's going to be a sweeter drink.
I'm usually just coffee, water, or bourbon or scotch. I'm fairly simple when it comes to that type of stuff myself. So I actually got this question. I always think it's a very interesting self perspective or self understanding question from John Lipton inside the Actors Studio. When you meet your creator at the end, what would you hope they say to you? Whoever you believe in, what would you want them to say to you?
I saw that you tried and that you learned from your mistakes.
Okay, great answer. Great answer. We have a question here from John. When you smoke all those blends, how do you cleanse your palate?
Usually just with water.
Okay, so
water.
You don't do like almonds or anything like that?
No. Usually just water. And hopefully I have a lemon next to me if they have lemons with me, so I can add some lemon to my water to, kind of freshen my palate up, clean it out. If I've been blending the entire day, I'll usually get some rum, clear rum, to literally gargle. And my entire mouth, one gulp, gargle, clean it, and then water. Because after you've been smoking the entire day, your palate gets shot after every cigar.
Yes. Yeah, it does. It does. How do you want, when you've built your company up to a legacy brand, how do you want the cigar community to remember you when you're gone?
A fun, caring motherfucker who's really passionate about cigars, that cares about everybody, but has zero tolerance for negativity.
I love that answer. And last question of the night. What would a today Alan tell a teenage Alan if you could go back in time, Back to the Future style?
Stop being scared of what everybody else thinks. All right? Stop being scared of failure. Stop being scared of anything in general, because fear is a blocker, right? Which means, like, in my life, I've always had to overcome obstacles, but my hardest obstacle is always me, my fear of failure.
Yeah, no, and failure is a good thing when you learn from it. So last question of the night will be to Ish. If you had the opportunity to do a collaboration with anybody in the industry, big or small, who would it be and why?
Ish throw me a loaded fucking gun. Look at that shit.
What a way to end the show.
No, so that being said, because I'm already building a relationship with Ish, like him and I vibe from day one. He's definitely somebody I would do a collaboration with. Alec Cuevas is probably somebody I'll do a collaboration with, right? I mean, it should go without saying, but the first person I do a collaboration with will have to be Jonas. Okay, that'll be the first one. because an issue, and I talked about this, I think on that weekend when we met, was I could say this to you, that right now I'm focused on my brand first, foremost, before I do collaborations. Because doing a collaboration without having some type of notoriety doesn't help either of the brands, unless the brand is larger. That's number one. Number two, because of my namesake of Family by Loyalty, obviously the first collaboration I'm going to do is with Jonas, right? Once we get to that point. After that, it's not about the names for me. When I make collaborations with somebody else, it's going to be based on the vibe that we have. Not just because they're bigger than me or smaller than me or whatever. It's because of the vibe we have. Because whoever I collaborate with, we're going to make a banging ass cigar, number one. Because they're going to learn real quick with me, I'm super anal. You know? And number two, if I'm making a cigar with you, is because we already have that trust and love for each other.
No, absolutely. You know, the one thing I've really grown to know very well about you, Alan, and just the little bit that we've known each other, is Family by Loyalty is not a brand. It is actually how you live. Family by Loyalty. You are,
exactly,
until proven otherwise, you are loyal to your friends, you are loyal to your shop owners, you are loyal first and foremost to your customers. So I think that brand is exceptionally fitting for you as a person, as a personality, and as a brand. So absolutely.
And just to go with one thing Daniel said, Daniel had an idea for a line. And Daniel, like I told you, we're going to do something. Don't worry about it. Okay? You know, we're going to do something. Don't worry about it. But what it comes down to right now, it's I have to focus on the brand first, right? Before doing collaborations. Because first and foremost, I don't have my own factory. I don't have my own farm, right? So I really need to focus on my brand, right? And when I do collaborations with somebody, it's because already my name has some notoriety out there, not just between brand owners. Because one thing I've learned recently is that a lot of brand owners already know about me. I have no clue about them, but they know about me. But the consumers don't know about me as much yet. And that's what I'm focusing on.
Absolutely. And in focusing on the consumers, Alan, I'm going to give you the closing part of the show. Give everybody a little recap about your brand, why to choose you in the humidor over somebody else, and where they can go to find your brand as well. So the show is yours.
Family by Loyalty. We live our brand. We lived our brand before it was a brand. That's number one. Okay, number two, trust me when I say to you, no cigar that we sell will not pass my palate. You may not like my palate, and that's fair enough. But just know that every cigar that we blend, that we make, is going to have transitions, always. Right? B, you're going to beat the team. The way it starts, not the way it finishes. And as far as why smoke us versus other brands, listen, I'm not going to answer that question in a way that you probably are used to getting that answer. Smoke cigars that you enjoy, guys. Okay? Elevate your palate. Don't always smoke the same thing. Figure out other cigars that actually you may enjoy, you may love. So I'm not going to sit here and say I make the best cigars out there. What a crock of shit. What I can tell you is I make the best cigars for my palate. And I hope that everybody else out there loves my palate. And if you want to shop cigars online, go to AtlanticCigars.com, go to the Cigar Loft, or go to LuxuryCigarClub.com. And if you want to see a retailer by you, check out my local retailers. But, you know, I would never say that my brand is better than anybody else's. I would tell you guys, live outside your wheelhouse. Expand your palate. You never know what you're going to find. Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you so much, John, for supporting Family by Loyalty. I know
really appreciate that.
Alan really, truly appreciates it. And you cannot go wrong, I'll be honest with you, John, after having several of their cigars. So Well, Alan, stick around when we're off the show here. Don't jump off real quick. But thank you so much for coming on, spending your night with me. It really means a lot. You were an absolutely fantastic guest. Thank you for
brother.
letting us gain insight into how you think, some of your struggles, your mentality around how you run and structure your business, and how you do your blends as well. It is always fun to talk to you, and you always have a home here on the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And the show has been inside the Smokin' Studios here at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. And until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can. Have a really great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.